Today, I'm testing out GSpeech, a lifetime deal over at AppSumo that takes the content on your website and turns it from text content into audio content. Now, this video is going to be a little bit different than some of my other videos because I've not actually tried GSpeech yet. I'm going to go ahead and install it on a couple different websites, one of them being a WordPress website and another being something non-WordPress. And we're going to find out how well it works, how easy is it to set up, and just basically I'll give you my feedback as we go through the app. All right, enough talk, let's get into it. So just for some context, I got the lifetime deal from AppSumo. I do have a link down below in the description if you want to click over to that before you buy anything at AppSumo. It helps support these lifetime deal reviews. I ended up getting their lifetime deal tier 2, $159. Notice it goes all the way up to $1,300 here. If we look at the plan details, I chose tier 2 because it came with most of the features. But if you go up to tier 5, you're going to get unlimited websites. So if you're an agency wanting to provide audio type services to your clients, you host websites for them, it might be worthwhile to look into. On tier 2, I only get 3 websites, but I get most of the features. The only 2 features I'm missing out on are real-time translation and their advanced analytics. There are still some statistics that you have access to. So I'm going to go ahead and set this up on the websites and we're going to find out how well it does. This is what GSpeech looks like. It's straight up nostalgic looking. It kind of looks like what you imagine a website would look like on a movie from like 2015. And notice that it's actually copyright 2012 to 2025. So that definitely predates any sort of AI generated voice type of action. So we'll see how good the voices are here. I guess my hopes are pretty low at this point. All right, I'm going to start off with the custom website. So a non-WordPress website. I'll enter in my info here. So I'm going to do clientamp.com. That's our website for this channel. And as I scroll through here, I need to choose a language for the voices. So there are a lot of different languages here. I'm going to go ahead and choose United States right here, but I will scroll through the rest because I know that's important to a lot of you out there. You want to see what languages are supported. Looks like a ton of languages. We're only on the P's right now, and we've had probably 30, 40 different languages already. So scrolling through here, yeah, absolutely pretty good coverage. So fairly impressive. All right, I'm going to go ahead and hit create. Okay, now that I've got my website added, there are a bunch of options to go through here. So under general, we've got basically the info that we just added in. And then there's a few toggle switches here. So we can make the widget published or not. So it's going to be on by default. Then we can also turn on an affiliate link as well as multi-language options. So the affiliate link is going to add an affiliate link to the widget that appears on your website. That way you can earn a little bit of money if people are like, oh, what's this audio player? They click on that and then eventually sign up and become a customer themselves. Well, you can get a little kickback for that. And multi-lang, which you should turn on if your website is a multi-language website. Next up is the voice configuration. Here you can choose your narrator. Samantha is the default. Let's hear what she sounds like.
Hello, you are listening to the preview of this voice.
So yeah, definitely not 11 Labs quality there. It's something you could listen to, but it sounds like a robot. Definitely not the current level of AI voice generation that we've become somewhat accustomed to at this point. Now, Samantha is listed as a basic voice. So let's hear what a premium voice sounds like.
Hello, you are listening to the preview of this voice.
Also definitely very synthetic sounding. Let's hear Caroline.
Hello, you are listening to the preview of this voice.
I guess a little bit more realistic, but yeah, it feels like when Siri first came out, it was really impressive at the time, just doesn't hold up to modern day. Let's hear a few of the guy voices. So here's Thomas.
Hello, you are listening to the preview of this voice.
To me, that one sounds a little bit stronger, a little bit more realistic. I don't know if maybe I just have a bias, but let's try Christopher.
Hello, you are listening to the preview of this voice.
That one sounds more synthetic. All right, so I just went and listened to all of them, and I'm not going to make you do that, but I can say with certainty that they're all at about the same level, kind of okay sounding, definitely tolerable, but not human. It doesn't feel like it's a podcast being created out of your content. There is a toggle switch down here to allow your viewers or your readers to actually choose the type of voice that they want. So you can set like a male and a female voice if you like to do that. I'm gonna go ahead and leave that off for now. I assume it's gonna use up more of my credits if I give them more options. Now we can tune our voice. There is speed and pitch control here. So if I wanted to make the voice be a little bit lower, I could drag it down. We can hear what this sounds like.
Hello, you are listening to the preview of this voice.
Or make it really high like Mickey Mouse.
Hello, you are listening to the preview of this voice.
That actually sounds a lot like Mickey Mouse. And let's reset it back to the original.
Hello, You are listening to the preview of this voice.
All right, moving on to the next section is content settings. So if there's some content you want to exclude, you could set up a CSS class or a CSS ID to basically skip over that content. You can also list allowed URLs and blocked URLs if that is more your flavor. And we can turn on and off on the fly translation here. Now remember, you're not going to be able to do that unless you get AppSumo tier 3 or above. All right, moving on to the next tab over, the player. These are the settings for the player that's actually embedded onto our content. So there's basically just some toggle switches here to choose which controls are activated. You also can set the appearance animation, so whether it zooms in, zooms out, slides in, things like that. I guess I'll just choose fade for now. Then we've got our speed control, so the user can choose how fast the content is read back to them. That's a nice feature. We also got volume control, so you can adjust the sound level. Then we've got a text panel, which basically shows the text that is being read and highlights the words as it goes through. We have downloadable audio so that you can let people download the audio and maybe listen to your articles on their drive in or something like that. A context player, which makes the player actually stay on the page as they scroll through the article, and a plays count so you can see how many people have already listened to that article. We can enable translations if we'd like right over here. Just go ahead and enable that, and you can choose the languages that your content will be translated into. And finally, there is a custom code section, so you can inject any JS or CSS into the player that you might want to customize the look or appearance of the player. And then we've got aliases over here, which basically are going to automatically translate phrases. So the example they give on their tooltip here is if it says AI in the article, you might have it actually speak artificial intelligence, just something to take acronyms and make them a little bit easier to be understood when you're not actually seeing the phrase on the article. All right, the next thing we need to do is get this thing onto the actual website. There is an integrations tab right here, and it gives you HTML website directions. So essentially there is just this little bit of script. I'm gonna go ahead and copy this and get it onto my Ghost website. So here is my website, clientamp.com. And I'm just gonna go ahead and inject this code onto every single page on the website. So let's go ahead and save this. And now if I load up my homepage, you can see that the little widget is even loading on the homepage. Now, obviously I could exclude it from the homepage if I like, but let's go into an article here. This is the Baseline LTD article, and I've got a player right up here at the top. I can go ahead and hit play.
That limited life 6 days left. Is Baseline Limited worth it? Discover how to create stunning brand kits without breaking the bank.
All right, so right away, I'm noticing a problem. It's reading LTD as limited, which is a very common way to abbreviate limited. So I'm gonna need to use that alias feature right away so that every time it says LTD, it actually reads it as LTD. But overall, everything is working just fine. Now, there is another cool feature here that if I just wanted a certain section read, let's say like the intro, I can just select it and then a little speaker icon pops up. I can click this and it reads the content for me. Now, I'm not really caring very much for the styling of this page.
Baseline is your go-to solution for creating a cohesive brand kit that captures your business's essence.
As I was saying, I'm not very much for the styling of the little widget, so I definitely would spend some time working on the details there just to get it looking on brand. It looks very kind of dated looking in my opinion, but overall the functionality, very, very easy to get up and running, even though I'm not using a more mainstream CMS. It doesn't have a WordPress plugin that I can install here, although there is a WordPress plugin. So let's go back into the settings here, and I'm gonna go ahead under player, and I'm gonna turn on, let's try that context player so we can see as I scroll down the page if that little player sticks with it. And we'll also turn on the text panel. And heck, let's just go ahead and turn on everything and see what it looks like. We'll hit save here. All right, so that was updated. Now I'm gonna go over to aliases and I'm gonna figure out how I can have it actually say LTD. All right, I think this should be all I need to do. You just have the original phrase, which is LTD, and then how you'd like it to be pronounced after a colon. So let's save this and we will reload the page and give it another try. All right, so I just actually went to the category page and it adds the text for absolutely everything on the page here, which is kind of wild. So I'm gonna open up, how about this Cast Magic article here. Now, the first time I played the audio, it actually has a pretty long delay where it might actually be rendering the audio that very first go around. So that's something to be aware of as well. It'd be nice if it just generated the audio beforehand, but then it would also use up your credits really quickly here. Back in GSpeech, there's actually a audios section right over here. And if you click on this, you can see the audio that has already been generated. So it looks like there is two different ones. One is the basically the inline player, which I believe they call the RHT player. And then there's the full player, which we saw at the top. So those two audios have already been generated. And I wonder if I reload, no, it hasn't actually generated the third audio yet. Looks like it just did because I saw the waveform get formed. So let's hit play.
That limited
Yeah, now it is definitely working. And it's still saying that limited life. So I guess I did not get the alias to work correctly. So just a few things I'm noticing here. When I go ahead and hit play and scroll, the player is not sticking with me like I assumed it would based on what the tooltip said was going to happen. I also do not notice a download button here, even though I enabled downloading. I do see the speed controller. I can change the volume, but I don't see any way to actually download the audio. And just to confirm, I do have all of those features enabled. In terms of the appearance of the widget, if we actually go over to widgets right here, the one I'm using is the multi-page widget full page player. And if we click on this, there is some design options. So I can go ahead and go into the design preview. And here's what the player looks like. So we've got some different backgrounds to choose from. There's a Minesweeper theme. There's some kind of floral Vegas theme here. These are all a little little busy for my taste. I would definitely prefer something just more flat and, just kind of plain. We got a Van Halen striped look here. Let's go ahead and try that out. There are some colors and things as well. Yeah, definitely can get really busy. I think, white should be an option, or even just like solid color. That would look good. We've got wood grain for that Scott Forstall background effect. All right, we're gonna go cedar tongue and groove right here, and I can change the template color. So that was one thing that stood out to me, is I did not care very much for that blue color it added to my website. So we can change that right here with a few different colors to choose from. I think a nice picker here to just drop in a hex code would be, very nice. These are all gradients, so I don't necessarily want a gradient, but if I were to choose one, I'd probably go with this yellow color. Oh, it looks like they've got a SoundCloud style design. Let's turn that on. Oh, I see. It just kind of makes the player larger, but it doesn't change the design, the overall look of the player. There's also a New York player, which makes everything very, very minimal. Yeah, lots of different toggle switches to go through here just to kind of make the player look the way you want. We can round the icons. We can give the icons a dark background, which I think looks a lot better. And look at this, we can turn off the background. All right, I'm in. That looks way better in my opinion. All right, just a few CSS options down here for the width, the margin on the top, and the margin on the bottom. I'm gonna leave them at their default settings. I do have the larger SoundCloud style player showing up now. And let's go back to my website and hit reload. I don't think I should have to change anything. It should just update on my page. So here's the old player. We'll hit reload. It's still there. I noticed that the widget also has its own aliases section, so I'm just going to add in the LTD alias there as well. Hopefully that works. And I'll spell it out phonetically, LTD. Maybe that'll do better. I don't know. Okay, so I've not gotten the changes to the design to appear yet. I wonder if it's a cache thing and I just need to wait a bit. But in the meantime, I'm gonna go ahead and set this thing up on a WordPress website. So back over in GSpeech, I'm gonna go ahead and add another website. We'll hit add new website here and I'll enter in the URL and hit create. Now I'm gonna use the WordPress player here. So I'll go to integrations and then choose WordPress. And the plugin we want to get is just called GSpeech. So just go ahead and search for this in the WordPress repository. So here is my demo website. I do have some blog posts on this. So I'm just going to go under plugins, add plugin, and I'm going to search for GSpeech. Keep finding myself wanting to call it G Suite. All right, here it is. It does have 2,000 plus activations, fairly good reviews. Let's go ahead and install and activate. And here we go. I've got the plugin right over here on the left-hand sidebar. Let's go ahead and get it connected up to our account. It says activate Cloud Console, just one click, and this is required. So I'll click right there. And basically I just log into my GSpeech account. All right, so this looks like a registration form. So actually I'm gonna click right over here to where it says login, and I will enter in my password here, hit login, and it says activate the Cloud Console. I'm gonna choose my language. I'm gonna stick with English, and it says the website was successfully created. And now I've got essentially the same view that we saw over on their website embedded onto WordPress, where I can change all of the same options. So this is nice if you use it on a client website, because then the client can customize it exactly as they need, and you don't have to essentially share passwords with your GSpeech account. They will be able to see your account info and that you're using AppSumo, however. So if that's something that's important to you, keep that in mind. Interesting to note that I've used almost 60,000 credits so far translating a few articles on my website. They're pretty decently long articles, but if you do a lot of content, you could eat up a million credits pretty quickly. So just for reference here, so you know exactly how many articles have been transcribed, I've transcribed 4 full articles and then that one inline audio that I played back. And that all together, if we go back up to the main dashboard here, that has used 61,000 characters or credits. So I'm down that many out of the million that I got to start with. Now, those are monthly reoccurring credits. So if you've got a lot of back content, it might take you some time to get through all of it. But after you do that, you'll probably be able to keep up with whatever content you're producing each month. And if you need more, you can always upgrade to as high as tier 5, which gives you 10 million total credits per month. So far, the functionality is really good. I'm just kind of disappointed in the voices and the appearance. So let's see what we can get this thing looking like over on WordPress. Okay, back over in WordPress, I'm having some trouble changing the voice for my website. So it's set to Samantha, the default, the basic voice. And if I choose anything other than that, it kind of just goes right back to Samantha. So what I figured out was if I go into the dashboard for G Suite itself, and then I go to my plan here, it looks like it's on AppSumo tier 2 already, but it turns out it's kind of not. So what I ended up doing was just toggling it over to free, which gives me a warning that it will restrict access to premium voices. And then going back to AppSumo, now I am able to change the voice, whereas before, even inside of the GSpeech website, I cannot. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit save here. And then maybe if I just hit reload over on WordPress, it might even kind of take that voice in. I would imagine it does. So reloading, and yeah, sure enough, Thomas is there. And now I can choose any voice that I'd like right inside of the web interface. So if you run into that problem using the WordPress plugin, now you know the fix. All right, this time before loading any of the pages, I'm gonna go to the widgets here and we're gonna change the style and see if I can get that to appear right away. So we'll go to the design preview tab. I'm going to disable the background and I'm going to turn on the SoundCloud player. All right, I like that. We'll hit save. And now let's just visit the site. There it is. There's our widget. I didn't change the color of that, but I'm gonna load up a blog post. We'll go over to blog. And here is a blog post. Here is the player. I've got all of my options now, so that's good to see. I can download the audio. I can open the context player, so that's right down here. And if I hit play, it's gonna take a moment to load up, but I do have the nice background that I wanted. Feels much more on brand, although I still need to change these widgets. I mean, all of that stuff is completely fixable. This initial load time every time you create a new article is a little bit of a drag. So if you're publishing an article and you're using this tool, I definitely would go in and look at the article and hit that play button so the audio actually gets generated. It would be a very bad experience for your visitors, because I can imagine maybe you get 5-10 people loading a website. Even if you're a smaller business, you get 5-10 people loading that blog post, hitting that play button, and nothing happens. Right away, your business loses trust because you have something broken on the website. And just psychologically, we associate it with being less trustworthy, less well functioning. For some reason, I'm really having a hard time getting it to generate audio from my WordPress website. There is this add new audio button up here, and if I click it, nothing seems to happen. I've checked this in a few different browsers on different websites inside of my account, and it just generally doesn't do anything. So it'd be nice if there was a way to just give it a list of URLs you want to pre-populate, but yeah, it's not happening right now. Yeah, so I guess between not getting the audio to play on my WordPress website and then having the problem over on my Ghost website where the style doesn't update, I'm starting to get a little pessimistic about this tool. So I think it's time to just go to my final thoughts here. I think GSpeech is nice in concept, but in actuality, I don't think it really pulls off what it's hoping to achieve. I also don't know about the utility of the tool in general. I don't know how many people out there are really just going to blogs and then wanting to listen to articles. Is that really a popular thing? I don't know. I don't think that it is. There's so many podcasts out there. If I want to hear some people talk about a subject, I'll just generally look for real humans that are already conversing about it. And if I want to read something, I'll do that. But that's just me. What do you think? Leave me your thoughts in the comments. So the execution is kind of poor here. Overall, I just would probably pass on this one. I'm going to give GSpeech a 5.3 out of 10. But hey, have no worries. Another LTD review will be published tomorrow. So go ahead and help me out. Hit that like button to help grow this channel. Subscribe if you're new around here. Drop me any questions, comments, or suggestions down below, and I'll see you in the next review.